Welcome everyone to the first episode of my new podcast, the Project Enigma. In this podcast, we'll be interviewing traders and entrepreneurs alike and finding out how people actually manage to break into the top 1% of people in the world. And today, my first guest is going to be my personal mentor in the Forex industry, Sebastjan Toplak, or as most people will know him, GJ Sebs. And we're just going to kind of get into how he got into trading and how his journey has been so far, what has actually brought him to success in the markets. So, Seb, thank you very much for being here with me.
Yeah, hello everyone. So it's my pleasure to be on the podcast, first of many, obviously. And yeah, let's do this. Let's dive into and let's get it.
Yeah, cool. So we'll just go straight into it. Why Forex? What is it that made you choose Forex in the first place?
Yeah, well, why I chose Forex as my, let's say, go-to, or let's say my job, quote unquote, is because of the freedom it provides. Once, obviously, you get to the certain level when you can be like free, which which means that you can left the job, etc. So the first and the most, I mean, the biggest goal was always for me to have freedom. So this is why I pursued this all the time until it becomes, my full-time job, if I can say that. Because many people, many traders, when they start, they think, okay, I'm going to be a trader, but they don't understand how much time it takes from you, obviously, especially in the beginnings, and especially when you can quit the job you have, so 9 to 5, and you start to, trade full time. Well, full time, meaning that you're actually full time, which means that sometimes you're gonna work even more hours than on a regular job. So this is the fact, until it becomes like when you have your system, when you have your trading plan and everything, to know which hours you have to be active and which days you have to be active. But until then, it takes time, obviously, it takes years and experiences. Again, so yeah, why Forex? Because of the freedom at the end of the day, because there's unlimited, there's no limit to the upside, how much you can make. It just depends how much capital you're working with. This is the only thing, right? And then again, the networking, people, you're getting to know people like yourself, Isaiah, and many more across the world. And as well, it's like on the business side is as well very expandable in many ways. So that's why, yeah.
Yeah, and I think obviously we have spoken about this before, and I think most people probably get into Forex for the same reason, the no limits to the ceiling, the fact that you are your own boss and you can make however much you want to make kind of with your own experience. And like you said, this is a substitute to a job. This is what you're chasing. I personally have had many jobs. Did you have many full-time jobs before you came into trading?
Definitely. Who didn't, right? Definitely. Well, I started working in, I don't know if many people know this, but I started working at 15 of age as a student, right? Student job. And my first job was McDonald's. This was my first job.
Mm,
To be honest, I know it's like, people see people, in general, right? Not everyone, but people see those persons like that work in McDonald's that they're like low, right? Well, honestly, I was very happy to have a job at first place. I didn't care which job I'm going to get as a student, right? But I was very happy to get my first job, even though it was McDonald's. Money is money at the end of the day. That's it. So I started there at 15 of age. Then, changing the jobs all the time as a student, like, because you can get a job like that,
yeah.
Yeah, every minute you can have a different job, obviously. But then I ended up being in the army. So this was my, let's say, the real job was my army, the full-time one. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, I can say I'm ex-army, I don't know, military
Yeah.
man.
And obviously I already knew that you had spent some time in the military, and it is interesting, like you said, the switching around jobs when you're that age. Like you said, it's easy to get new jobs and you keep going through it. when you get to the military, is this a job that you think you're going to keep while you're there?
Well, honestly, I was from my young age, I was always wanted to be or in police or in the army, right? So this was like two options, and the first option was police, obviously, because my father is as well a policeman. And the thing is that I sent the resume to academy, or how to call this in general in English, and they rejected. I don't know why. I don't know the reasons why they rejected. So the second option was army. So I went into the army, and it was okay. It was cool. I liked it very much because I had a lot of time to focus on my things in private life as well. We most I mean, most of the time we work out, being prepared for everything, etc., exercises, and this. I knew. I get to know a lot of people there, a lot of good friends, even now when I'm not in the army anymore. I still have friends there, as etc. I saw many things, can't talk everything, but many things.
Yeah.
Experienced a lot, gained a lot of experiences that can help you in life in general. Like, let's say, sort of, it's psychological, right? So it's like mindset, discipline, and those kind of things that help me even in trading. But yeah, army was the full-time job. I liked it very much. It was cool. It was awesome, and yeah.
And by the sounds of it, when you was explaining the way that your careers went, like that start of your life when you're working, you said, then I ended up in the army and that's where it stops. So I imagine we go into trading from here. How does that happen?
So the question is, when I was in the army and how I transitioned.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So the thing is that my trading started in 2017. So this is the first time I've ever heard about Forex. It was not the Forex that we all know today, but it was options, right? I
Hmm.
don't know if you know what's options. So
That was the
options,
first thing I did as well.
yeah, was the page called IQ options, when you kind of
Hmm.
buy and sell in a span of a few minutes, and then you click buy, and you hope that in the next 5 minutes price is going to go up for you to make money, right? So it was kind of gamble, but this is how I started. This is what I knew at the time. I didn't have any knowledge. I was looking at YouTube, some Martinez strategies or whatever the case may be, something like that. So I deposited 100 euros. This was the maximum I could afford at that time. It was 100 euros. I made 200, something like that, and I withdrew. So when I withdrew that money, that time, it was complete gamble. So I hope that makes sense. I didn't have knowledge, experiences, nothing. It was gamble. And when I withdrew this 200 and something, and I got this money in my hand, like I touched it, I knew, damn, this is real thing, right? Just
Hmm.
clicking something. It was like a brainstorm. It was, what the fuck is happening, right? So this was the cherry on top that got me like, I want to do that, right? I want to do this,
Yeah.
uh, like full time, right? But little did I know at that time that this is complete gamble, that I'm not going to live from it, that I will need knowledge, experiences, and a lot of failures to get me somewhere. So from that point on, I kind of started to Google everything. So it was the time when I joined the army, 2017, right?
Yeah.
The same thing. Army on the side, I mean, army as a main thing, and trading, searching, doing research on Google and those stuff on Forex, right? And at that time, it was like we all know who are in, let's say, who have 5+ experience in trading, that there wasn't many courses and mentors back then, right?
Yeah.
Like literally no, I didn't know it. I didn't even know that baby pips existed, right? So I had to Google everything. What is trend line? What is trend? What is price action? Those kind of things, right? Because everything was new to me. Everything was like, let's say, space science. It was very hard
Yeah.
to grasp. And this was the page called Investopedia at that
Yeah.
time. because this was the only page I knew, Investopedia. So there was like kind of mini course something, to tell you, to explain to you what is pip, pairs, trend lines, those basic stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is how I got the knowledge at that time. And then of course you have to Google, you have to go on YouTube, hoping anyone is going to have anything, right? And the rest is history. Like the other side of experiences were from failures. Obviously, I blew many accounts, experiences, and then slowly starting to, let's say, grasp the knowledge, grasp the idea how you want to trade, or let's say what is the right way to trade, right? So I was trading support resistance. I was trading what is called these indicators, MACD, RSI, those kind of stuff. I was trading patterns, like everything you can imagine that exists in the trading industry. I was trading it. I was trying or got into, or like literally everything. So at the end of the day, year passed by, like 1 year, 2 years. I saw, okay, none of this works for me personally. It may work for anyone else, but not for me. So I had to search. So this was the time when I think 2018, something like that. I came across ICT. We all know who the ICT is,
Yeah.
but the biggest problem back then was going on the ICT YouTube videos for free, right? Going and trying to learn them without knowing what is PIP, what is basics of Forex, was very, very hard. Very hard. Because his course it can be very complicated if you complicate it, obviously. And from that point on, I was, step by step, gaining the knowledge. Mostly was failures, obviously, because I say that from failures you can learn a lot if you want to, right? If you don't look that as a, I don't know, quitting option, but just failure is a lesson. So you can learn a lot of from failures if you journal, if you write it down what you did wrong in this trade, etc., like a business. But yeah, this is how I got my knowledge at that time, and then just upgrading through the years.
Yeah, and I think it probably for most people I know that have actually found any success has probably gone a similar sort of way. There has been years and years, and everyone who started it around the same time as us, like you said, there was no real education. You had to teach yourself, and this was a near impossible task. Like I didn't do so well with that. You seem to have done a lot better with it. So you've got onto ICT and you've started learning the more complex strategies that you can trade in Forex. Did this click quite early for you?
Well, no, nope, it didn't. I mean, at first it was very hard for me, to, like, I knew what is the order block back then, right? What is the order block from the ICT and those kind of stuff, those basic stuff from the ICT. I knew what is this, but I didn't know how to use it. Make
Mm,
sense? I didn't know how to use it, even though I had a lot of explanations and everything, but everything sounds so complicated for me. A lot of informations, new informations, given the fact that, let's say, if you have two persons, you have two people, person number one have like at least 2 to 3 years experiences in trading, have, let's say, basics, know how to trade, something like that. And then you have person number two that just started out and learned what is pip, what is trend, those theory stuff, not practical way, but just from the books. And then I was the person number two,
mm,
I didn't have much of a practical experiences, right, from the charts. So I was person number two, and getting on the ICT back then with just the theory from the books, and learning what is audible, how to use it, what is imbalance and fair value gaps and those kind of stuff. Man, it was hard. I just when I remember this, like it was yesterday, it was very, very hard. And I spend a lot of time after work, a lot of free time, back then just to learn. I think I spent like 3 to 4 hours after work just to learn, and learn, even though I didn't have a clue what I'm learning. I just,
Yeah.
was too obsessed with it. I want this. It was just one main goal. I'm going to be successful. I don't know when, how, but I'm going to, right?
Yeah.
Eventually. So this is how it started. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
very
and I
hard.
think I think that's something that is so important that people don't give enough credit to. When you're going to start anything that can take you above other people, it is going to take
Mm,
years, and this is something that some people are just not willing to accept. And
yeah.
there's going to be so many hurdles that you're going to have complete and utter faith that you can do it. Like you said, you knew you was going to be successful. You knew you would figure out Forex. It was a matter of
Yeah.
when and how. So
Yeah.
you've spent a couple of years in it now at this point. You're 2 years in, you're still in the army, presumably, while this is happening.
Definitely.
What
Yeah.
point do you realize that you're starting to get a hang of trading and start looking to move away from your job?
Well, it was in 2020 when I quit the job. It was like now it's 4 years ago, right? 3.5 years ago is now. So this was the point when, I mean, I saved a lot of money. Okay. I saved a lot of money from the mission, from my paychecks and everything. I saved a lot because I was smart enough to not go, to not just go through, through the wall. If I can say, I don't know how to say this properly in English. Um, so I saved money for at least a year, to have without earning a penny a month. Make sense? So this is how, because you have to live somehow. I wasn't that, let's say, I wasn't that profitable back then, like now, when you know when to trade, what to trade, how to trade, like, when you have the system and everything. I thought I had the system back then. I
Yeah.
thought I had. And the thing was that I saved a lot of money to, be able to quit the job, pursue my dream, pursue my goals, because I will have like 8 hours plus more time a day without the job. So the process was very fast back then when I quit it. But I didn't have the knowledge that I have today, obviously. I didn't have the experiences that I have today. But at that time I thought I have enough. I was profitable, not every month, but I was profitable enough to make something because I
Yeah.
think I deposited 5K back then. I deposited 5K because prop firms did not existed. I mean, I knew about FTMO, but it was like Bitcoin in 2010. When you say,
Mm.
when in 2010 someone said to you, buy Bitcoin, you will say, what the fuck is Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
It was the same with the prop firms back then, right? I know FTMO existed, but I didn't know that this is like the real thing, right? So it was much live capital. I had 5K on it. So what I did was, um, make some money, like 200, 300 euros, something like that, withdraw and everything. It was a cycle. I didn't compound the account. I was just making something, withdrawing. It was
Yeah.
the balance was always okay. And I was up then, up then, up then. So I wasn't compounding it to grow the account because I needed to live. So it was kind of pressured, but I had enough for quitting my job for at least a year, not earning a penny a month.
Yeah.
I hope it makes sense. So this was the point. And from there, my knowledge, experiences, and everything just went up because I had a lot of time in my day. I had to, get used to it first because I wasn't used to not having a job, not used to going somewhere every morning, right? It was completely a shock mentally, complete shock mentally for 2 months to me realizing that, okay, I have a lot of free time, how to use it, right? How to manage my time now. So I used it to gain the knowledge, experiences, to learn more stuff, to trade as well. And yeah, it went well. It went well.
Yeah. And I think it was like you said, it, it's once you get that free time, because I went through a similar thing recently when I obviously started my journey as a content creator. And all of a sudden, when you don't have a full-time job, being able to hold yourself accountable for your
Mm.
time and for your actions it's such a hard thing to overcome, and I don't think people give that enough credit. I hear so many people that have just turned full-time traders, and they're just so unaware of how much pressure this is going to be. But I think for you it must have been slightly different because you've just come out the army, and there's certain things that must have been drilled into your head that have helped you hold yourself accountable for your actions. So now you're profitable, you've left the army, you're trading your personal account. But like you said, this is a $5,000 account. And we all know that it's very difficult to make a living on that amount of money. At what point did it change? Because the you I know today, you trade in a way, obviously you trade through prop firms, and you trade in a way that you can sustain yourself for like in your life. At what point does this happen? Where do you level up?
Level up in trading. Oh yeah. So this was the point where, like I said before, I traded a 5K account, right? I wasn't compounding it for one time. I was withdrawing everything. I had my money on the side from saving up from paychecks and etc. What point was for me leveling up? So it was the point. Let me just slide different because I have the date there. This is my. So I don't know how many people is going to watch this, but those who will and those who know me, they will know that I have my certificate on my wall.
Yeah.
From my first FTMO account. So this is very old certificate, right? Let me just check the date. The date is 15 of May 2020 was the first certificate of FTMO, right? Back then it was 100K account, the maximum. This was the max capital you can have, 100K. And it was obviously a lot. I wasn't used to that money, right? It was very big numbers, seeing like running 1% in profit, which is 1K, it was like, fuck, this is a lot of money, right? So mentally, I wasn't prepared, right? So I had this account, I was trading it, and then I had this live account, 5K, alongside, make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had this. This was my, let's say, first aid, how to say, to actually make something, right?
Yeah.
Actually make something and earn something to kind of live from it. But obviously, let me be honest, I blew it. I did blew it. After a few months, I blew it because mentally was a pressure of being, let's say, used to the numbers, because I definitely wasn't used to those numbers, because 1K back then, it was a lot of money for me, right? So I wasn't prepared mentally, but I knew, okay, if I want to earn something, at least something to can be compared to my paycheck in army, I have to have this kind of account, right? Because a 10K account, it's not going to cover it.
Yeah.
Maybe 20, maybe, but this is a big maybe, right? It just depends how much percentages you make on the monthly basis, right? So this is how I kind of leveled up with everything mentally back then, getting used to the numbers, getting used to the prop firms, etc. But if I'm being honest, it was very, very hard for me because there wasn't no time limit option back then. You had 30
Right.
days to complete the challenge, and then 60 days to complete 5% verification. And the thing is that we all know, the Forex industry and mentors and people who trade more than 5 years, we all know that having a deadline in trading is not real trading, right? You cannot have a deadline, 30 days to complete 10% challenge, because first, you cannot know how the market is going to behave. If there is going to be any trade at all, right? You cannot know. You cannot
Yeah.
know. And then if you have losses, you need to cover the losses first before making profit. You have to have risk management, trade management. You have to trade your plan. You need. I say to my students nowadays, the challenge is going to test you in everything. Mentally, it's going to test you, test your experiences, it's going to test your knowledge, it's going to test your timing, it's going to test your plans, like literally everything. That's why it's not that easy to complete those challenges, even now with the time limits. I mean, no time limits, even now. Okay. So it was very hard. It was very pressured. So I had to make a plan how I'm going to, make this happen in 30 days. It was like, I think I need to make 2% this week. I need to make 3% next week,
Mm.
calculating. So it was, I mean, it was hard, but at the same time, it was amazing because I learned a lot. So I leveled up with this. I blew it right away after it, then just trying to make it back with the challenges. Obviously, not successful for some time because the pressure was there and everything. So it wasn't an easy journey for me, if I'm being honest. It was only how you are mentally in the head. Are you good enough mentally to, prepared to go through bad days, and everything to push through? Are you disciplined enough to go through and not quit, etc.? So it was very hard. I didn't quit, and I just, battling with the demons all the time, to make it happen. So yeah, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, and I think again, this is something that everyone who has actually made it has had to go through. I'm yet to hear of someone who's come in
Yeah.
actually is publicly profitable and will say things like, it only took me 6 months. Like everyone had to
Mhm.
go through this roller coaster to be able to get to where
Mhm.
they are. And
Mhm.
like you said, this is mainly a mental battle, and trading itself is a mental battle anyway. Is
Yes.
there anything that helped you through that? Because I mean, I've failed small challenges that have given me mental
Mhm.
knocks. I haven't even
Yeah.
taken a 100K challenge when I don't have a job, and this is I'm relying on this money. Is there any kind of practices that you did to help you overcome some of this mental pressure?
Well, the first thing that I gained, um, I gained a lot of stuff from the army, right? Again, the discipline, which is the biggest factor in trading. You have to be disciplined in order to be successful and consistent, right?
Yeah.
So I gained the discipline from the army because in the army you're just a number, you're not person. When you're in the camp, right? You're just a number. Wake up at this time, do that, do that, do that. It's like the whole day, right? Just commence every time, and everything is on time, right? So they say like you have 1 minute to make your bed. How the fuck I can make bed in 1 minute when you have to do it in the army style, not like home just throwing a shits
Yeah.
and and that's it, right? It's a whole different story. So again, it a lot of knowledge, discipline from there, which results as a good thing in the trading, right? So mentally, how I got through everything back then was first being disciplined because I was always in sports as well, right? So it helped me in this way as well. Then mentally meditating, um, getting the pressure off, right? Going for a walk, thinking, just being myself, those kind of stuff. So I was meditating a lot because I was under a lot of pressure and stress back then. So this helped me going through everything, being at ease, being, chilled, relaxed, and everything. So my mind could work. So I have, sorry. So that I didn't had like a cloudy mind,
Yeah.
because if you have a cloud, you can't trade. You just can't. You can't take the decisions all the time. You just can't. It's simple. So meditating got me through. And being, uh, having my older brother, obviously, um, he was at my young age, he was my role model because his mentality is out of this world. Like, you know, if he says something, he's going to, no matter what, no matter how hard it's going to be, no matter how much time he's going to take, anything, he's going to do it anyway, right? So
Yeah.
I saw from him going through pressure, pushing to the limits, going through maximum all the time. And I say, if he can do it, I can do it. We have the same blood,
Yeah.
right? So we have the same blood, right? So, well, I gave it a try and I didn't quit. So I just, keep pushing, because I know for a fact in life, if you want to level up, life is going to test you if you're ready for it. Make
Mm,
sense? And it's going to test you like very hard. And this is the time when when it have to click in your mind that you cannot give up. You just have to go through, you have to push harder, and eventually you're going to succeed. Why are you going to succeed? Because you didn't quit. And if you quit, you'll never know, right?
yeah.
So this is just going and going and going, never stop.
And I think this is interesting as well because the longer I've been in this industry, working for different firms, seeing different traders and seeing the data and the
Mm.
results, I'm still quite sure that no one fails at Forex. No one fails. They quit.
Yeah,
That's what
they quit.
happens. Yeah,
They quit.
there's no failures. There's no failures in anything. If you're going to keep going, like you said, and keep breaking down the doors,
Yeah.
eventually you're going to get there. And when you said, obviously, when you get to those barriers where you're about to level up, the world's going to test
Mhm.
you, and it's going to
Yeah.
test whether you're strong enough. But I think it's also going to test whether you're deserving of this, because not
Yeah.
everyone can be successful. There can only be a small amount. So
Yeah.
for you, obviously, you've managed to overcome this, and that is how you've managed to get to where you're going. What is the biggest thing that you see traders doing? Because there's a lot of people that do actually have the mental resilience, there's a lot of people that do have the knowledge. What is the biggest
Mhm.
reason that traders aren't being able to actually progress and do end up quitting?
Well, this is a very good question, and I can't stress enough for quite some time about this. What is the biggest reason why people fail at trading? Basically, social media. This is number one reason is social media, because it's not that big of exposure of those kind of things currently, because I see that a lot of traders, mentors with big following and influence on, in the industry are now preaching the realistic stuff in trading
Yeah.
rather than hyping up that you're gonna be millionaire in 2 months. So I think this is the biggest thing that people fails, because if we take one example again, right? You have I posted this on Twitter as well
Mm,
as a post, right? So you have a video about how to or let's say what is pip and how to use it into your own advantage to be better trader. And this video gets 100 views, right? And then you have other guy who drives the Lambo, shows MT4, I don't know how much money, right? Withdrawing, whatever the case may be, probably with the rented MT4 servers, right? And this kind of video gets millions of views. And the problem is that people who start trading first is when Lambo, right?
mm,
When I'm going to make that amount of money, before they even start to think, what knowledge do I need? Which knowledge? How much experience do I need? How many years it's going to take for me to actually come to to a certain level that I can afford this, right? So I was different back then because I had my good friend in the trading before me, right? He helped me as well, with the guidance and everything. And he said, I like you because you want knowledge and not money. So this is the
yeah.
difference. I went from knowledge because I know that if I'm going to have a knowledge experiences, eventually I'm going to earn something. Because this is just the gift, right? It's the gift. And so I think this is the biggest reason why people fail at Forex is because they're too hyped up and scammed at the end of the day, because you just can't have a Lambo in 2 weeks nor even a year if you're not selling something.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, if you're not selling something, because from trading it's going to take a lot of time to actually have for a deposit for a Lambo. Simple. Or it just depends how much capital you're working with. Because now with the prop firms, you can get easily funded up to 1 million plus, right? With the challenges. And with this kind of amount, you can, let's say in a span of 1 year of being consistent, only making like 3% a month, which is enough on that capital, you can earn a lot of money. if you're
Yeah.
smart enough, right? This way, yeah, but from the starters, I knew my friends, like few friends, who failed miserably because of it, because of this hype, right? And I think this is the biggest reason for it, because first it's knowledge, experiences, and everything. Then you're gonna earn something, and it's going to take years. This is the problem. It's going to take years.
It's interesting though that, and my opinion about this has only changed recently. I completely agree with you that it is social media that gives people this idea, but I'm no
Yeah,
longer actually in agreement that it's the influencer's fault. Like, I personally think this is an issue with society, not with,
yeah,
because let's not name any names, but some of the people that we know that have been doing this
yeah,
in a similar position. At the end of the day, they're just trying to make money as well, and they're doing it in a way they know
yeah,
how to. And for me,
yeah.
it's the people, because I'm looking back at myself from before now, that
Mhm.
when I first got into it, the exact same thing happened. Within a month, I thought I was going to be a millionaire. Now,
Yeah.
6 years on, as a more mature adult, I can see that was fully on me. How dare I believe that that could happen, no matter what
Mhm.
anyone said to me? So, like, do you find it that maybe it isn't actually an issue with social media and it's an issue with people?
Well, at the end of the day, everyone is 18 years old, right? Everyone have his own brains to think with, right? So the decision is always individual.
Yeah,
Make sense? So every person is going to decide for himself or herself what he's going to do with this kind of information. But the influence is very big.
yeah,
You can't argue. It's very big, right? You can just say it's not. It is. Like you have one stand, free knowledge. You have second stand. Let me show you how you can make 50K tomorrow.
yeah,
Everyone is going to this stand. So this is the problem, right? And like I said, at the end of the day, everyone is 18 years old and have to think with her own head and brains. But the influence about this hype and everything is very big. So this is what I'm
yeah,
trying to say. Gets more views and clicks than the real thing, the realistic knowledge and everything, right? So only this. If the content that have realistic approach and will tell you, look, you're not going to earn that much money in those few years. If this content will be pushed, I do believe that we would have less traders,
yeah,
less people know about Forex or even try to learn because they would see, oh, it's going to take me 3 years to even earn something. I'm not even going to try, right?
yeah.
Make sense? Yeah.
I do personally think that this will happen anyway. Naturally, I think it will start moving away. I think with everything, like when Bitcoin was a thing, when Bitcoin blew up, everyone jumps on it. Once they realize that trading Bitcoin or holding Bitcoin isn't as simple, less and less people do it. The same as with drop shipping. Everyone goes, "Oh, you can
Mhm.
make all this money drop shipping." Everyone jumps on it. When they realize it's actually really difficult, less and less people
Mhm.
do it. So I do think it will get to a point naturally where less traders are falling for all the scams. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping even if they don't, and there is still this ridiculous number of people coming into the industry, there are more and more influencers that aren't actually influencers. They're educators doing it for free who actually want people to learn. And if that happens, that's awesome. But then that leads us to another issue, which I do think is starting to fix itself a bit. But like you said, when you first found out about prop firms, you've got FTMO,
Mhm.
you've got time limits. And
Mhm.
the way I look at it now is these time limits were designed because if you look at trader data, swing traders
Mhm.
tend to be more profitable than scalpers and day traders because of the fewer trades they take. Therefore, it would
Right.
make sense for a firm to cut out that set of traders. I think the firms themselves were just as scammy as the influencers at the time. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
them were run by influencers.
Mhm.
How is your opinion of how the prop industry has moved along in the last 5 years?
Yeah, well, the prop firm was like primarily is designed to fail, right? I mean, it's designed for traders to fail, right? Otherwise, prop firms won't make money, right?
Yeah,
But how it moved from back then until today, I mean, it did change. It did change a lot. The first big, like very big change was get rid of the time limit, right? So this was the very big change in the industry, which I liked it very much because even I do have challenges. I don't know if you can see on my wall back
Yeah,
then.
relatively.
No. Yeah. So back then, I mean, now I can take time for it. I don't need to force trades. I don't need to pressure myself. I need to trade today, blah, blah, blah. I just can take time, trade it easy, have good risk management, risking 0.5 or 1% per trade, and, just slowly doing a challenge. No pressure, right? But this is me. I know this, right? Many people, even though prop firms doesn't have challenge, I mean time limit on challenge, are still being pressured, are still forcing the trades because they want to get funded in a week, which is completely wrong. It's not good, right? You can get funded in a week. You can be lucky, you can be very smart and very good trader, you can do it, but it's not going to be sustainable at the end of the day. Because I saw how many people got funded in a week or in a day with one trade,
Yeah.
make the verification, but they never received the payout, right? Because still, again, it's mental, right? Because we all know the statistic, how many people fail at challenges, how many got through the verification, and how many even get to the payout, and even have the account for a long period of time. Because the game actually begins when you are funded.
Yeah.
This is when it starts, keeping your account, right? So this is the hardest part of it, right? And this is when you have to figure how you're going to manage your account, what is the risk management you're going to use, etc. So to get back to the question, how prop firm developed is, in my eyes, very good. I don't have anything to add currently because no time limits. Like if we take SFT for example, they even have 6% of target, which in
Yeah.
my opinion is very achievable, right? It's very good for traders to make it through with less stress, with less work, and etc. But still, are they mentally prepared for it, right? Because even though you don't have a time limit, it can still take you a few months to make a challenge. You can still fail if you don't have a good risk management, if you don't have experiences, knowledge, anything, right? It can still fails. So prop firm industry, I think it's very good. It's very good for the traders because it's a gold mine for capital. It's a
Yeah.
gold mine for capital. Most people do not have, including myself back then, right? The only thing I could trade was the money I could afford to lose, and it was the live account, right? So having an access to 200K account, it's mind blowing, right? It's mind blowing. So it's very good for industry. I hope it's going to be very good in the future. That is going to, just go. That is not going to be scammy. What happened with some prop firms
Mm.
last year, etc. Because this is very bad. It throws very bad light on the industry in general. So I hope people in charge, CEOs, etc., are going to be smart enough to make this a better thing, right, in the
Yeah.
very future. Prop firms are the best thing that happened in the industry, in my opinion. You just
Yeah.
have to be smart enough to use it and work on it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like you said, prop firms are the best thing that has happened to this industry. There's nothing else that anyone can say that has been better than the allocation of funds. And yet still, I, I see so many people complaining about the firms and about that. It's just when it was time limits, that made sense. That was the only argument that made sense. Once that was gone, it was then, oh, the profit targets need to come down, and firms did it, but the pass rates didn't really change. And now it's
Nope.
people not wanting certain drawdown types,
Mhm.
and certain firms have started changing them, and yet the pass rates still stay the same. At what point do traders accept that this is the easiest it has ever been to make money trading, and like you said, when we started, it was completely different. There was no education, there was no funding. It was next to impossible. Why is it, in your opinion? Do you have any thoughts on why, even though the industry is getting better and better, the statistics don't seem to be changing?
Still, it comes back to hype. It comes back to mentality, right? Everyone can have knowledge. Everyone can have experiences, but in order to be successful trader and consistent, you need to have proper mindset, right? Simple. Because I remember on FTMO back then, because it was the only firm, they had 70% of split. And when you say to someone you're gonna get 70% of everything you make, it was mind-blowing. And people are still not, they don't accept that they think this is low. Like,
Yeah,
it's low. 70% is a lot of money, right? If you have a good capital and everything, it's a lot of money, and split. So I think it's mental. It's mental because, even though they are now paying on demand, they are now paying on every 2 week. They are now having payments done in less than a day, and even though targets are low, verifications, I think that everyone have 5%. I think so. I don't know. Like, no time limits. Like, is it? You have everything on the plate, like literally everything on the plate, and you don't take advantage of it. Why? And you still fail at it. Why? It's here. It's mental. It's just mental. Because if you have the proper mindset, like, okay, I'm going to buy a challenge. First, you have to afford it. If you can afford 50 USD or something for
yeah,
100. First, you have to afford it. Then you have to forget about this 50 USD. You just gave it. It doesn't exist anymore. You forget about it. You create a plan, trading plan. You create a risk management plan. You have everything in set. You received your account. Then no pressure. Why you have to pressure yourself and make the challenge in a day?
mm,
I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I saw one guy on the Risk podcast, right? He's very new in trading and he was on the podcast. I'm not going to name names, but I saw his Twitter all the time. And I don't have nothing against him. He's a good guy, he's a good trader, but the hype is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Making challenges in a day, making this, making that. People see this, and if you have an influence, people are going to try to do the same. And probably they're not having enough experiences and knowledge like this guy, and they're going to fail,
yeah,
right? All the time. So this is the problem. Be realistic. Why pressure yourself? Take time. Use 0.5 risk percent per trade. You're gonna make it. Even if it takes you a few months to do it, it doesn't matter. You're gonna make it. Simple. The goal must be being funded no matter when, no matter how, just being funded. If
yeah,
let's say, if I buy the challenge today, and first thing is, I'm not going to set the deadline on myself because I had those deadlines on FTMO back then. I'm not going to set a deadline until when I want to be funded. I'm not going to, because this is going to put pressure. Then I'm going to create a trading plan, risk management plan. I'm just going to take it slow, step by step, simple, until it's finished. Once I'm funded, different ballgame, right? And
mm.
then we just change the plan, no deadlines as well. We have a monthly payments, etc. And that's it. So, like I said, I think it's mental again.
It's really difficult as well because when it is just to do with mental, because like you said, I think at this point, it only takes about 6 months tops now for you to gain the knowledge and understanding of these concepts. It doesn't take you a long time anymore. Any prop firm that you trade with, you can jump in their Discord and there'll be educators there telling you this. Every time you
Yeah.
jump on to watch a podcast, especially obviously you watch Riz's podcast, the amount of traders that come on and talk about the hard parts, they now
Yeah.
outweigh the people that are still trying to make it seem like it's all easy. So it's very
Yes.
difficult
And
to change the mental attitude of the general public. And this is why I still feel like it isn't really anyone else's job at this point. I think each individual trader has to be able to look at it and say, if I'm still messing up, it is 100% my responsibility. No one else has got anything to do with this. It's all on me. And until that happens, I don't personally think anything is going to change.
Yeah.
And do you think, because this is another thing that happens on socials, this is one of the biggest thing that I've seen, other than the fast money, the fact that ICT is the only way to become a successful trader?
No,
Well, like,
definitely. Well,
because you trade a form of ICT, don't you?
yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I like this. I like this. His idea of structuring down the price action and everything. I love this because I'm perfectionist, a little bit of perfectionist, and I want to know 100% why this happened, why price goes from A to B. I want to know the background of it, right?
yeah,
I just put random lines on the chart or boxes and say, okay, this is a break, this is that, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make sense to me. So I need to have structure, everything. So this is why I love ICT, way of ICT. I don't trade everything he teaches because it's too complex, right? I just use basics. It's enough for me. But it's definitely not the only way for trading because everything in trading works. Some people trade EMAs, they're successful. Some people trade patterns, they're successful. Some people trade support resistance, they're successful. It
yeah,
just depends on each individual how they see the market and what works with them. And I will never say this doesn't work because it does work, right? But not for everyone. Simple. I can trade let's say I can trade patterns because for me this is nonsense, but for someone this is the holy grail. Make
yeah,
sense? Right? Like someone can't trade the ICT way. They just can't, right? So I think that the ICT way is not the only way to trade. Even though ICT have a lot of supporters, the army of the supporters,
mm,
and if you say something against him, they are going to attack you. This is
yeah,
the thing in social media now. It's funny, right? It's very funny. But yeah, it's not the only way to trade, definitely not. But I see that a lot of people are using the SMC way, smart money concept,
yeah,
and especially in the span of the last 2 years, it gotten like very hyped up and everything. Like it's the only way, which is it isn't, even though I trade it. Um, so I think it's very good stuff. It's very complex at the start, but once it clicks, it's very simple if you simplify it,
yeah.
because you can't complicate this thing like very much. So no, it's not the the only way.
And I think it might also be another cause for the failure with with some of this mental, because again, with the influence, like you said, the army behind him, anyone new that comes into trading is one of the first strategies they're gonna even contemplate now. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a look at ICT's teachings. I've been in for
Mhm.
a few years now. It's too much for me. It is way too much,
It
but
is.
I'm just mentally big enough to accept that and say, okay, this isn't for me yet. But for everyone else new coming in, that's the only thing they want to trade because they think it's the only way to make money. And it just comes back to
Mhm.
what you said, is this whole idea of, I think
Yeah,
too many people have got too much individual influence.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I think that is up to people like ourselves to change that. Obviously, I know that you are also a content creator and
Mhm.
it's your goal to be able to educate people in the correct ways of trading. But it's difficult.
Mhm.
I imagine you struggle the same as me. Like you said, people want to see exciting lies. They don't want to hear boring truths.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it is what it is. Um, as we look to start wrapping this up, I just want to know from you, and this is a question that I will be asking every trader that comes on to the show. Forex
Mhm.
trading has worked out brilliantly for you, and you've clearly set yourself up for a very successful life. But at any
Mhm.
moment, regulations can change. Let's just for a second assume that prop firms can no longer exist due to regulations, and personal funding is still a very difficult option for people. If Forex trading isn't an option for you anymore, what are you doing?
Well, good question. This is the question. It's very hard to answer because being involved with this for 6 years plus, and only doing those stuff all the time and educating and everything. Um, But yeah, I think I will be in the real estate, something like that, because I know that people will always need to live somewhere, right? So I think it's always a market for it if you know how to use it. It's not easy, definitely not. You need capital and everything. You have to be smart about it. But I think I will go into real estate or something like that in this you know industry.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people probably have the same thought. I think anyone who has the mental maturity again to understand that it's an evergreen industry. There's never going to be a
Yeah.
time where people don't need houses. And I think
Mhm.
that's the same reason that Forex appeals to a lot of people. The markets are always going to be there.
Exactly.
Which means obviously it's a bit of a redundant question. The fact is you are always going to be able to trade. It's never going to stop. It's just interesting to see what people's goals are before this kind of took over their lives, because it does take over your life.
Yeah, well, look, I'm not planning to trade my whole life, right?
Mm.
Well, you just imagine yourself at 50 of age,
Yeah,
right? You have possibly grandkids. You're not just going to be glued at your screen, being stressed if this is going to hit your limit, or is going to hit your stop loss, those kind of stuff. So definitely, I'm not planning to trade my whole life, right? Is the hardest, quickest, I mean, is the hardest quick money you can make
yeah,
in trading. So you can gain a lot of capital, you can gain a lot of money, but then it comes to each individual what is going to do with it, right?
yeah.
How you're gonna use it. If you're gonna use it smart, or you're gonna spend it on jewelry or shoes or whatever, right? So I think you have to play it smart, and think of your future, your possible kids, family, and everything, right? And then decide what you're gonna do in your life, in a span of 10, 20 years, whatever.
I think that is probably one of the most important things that you've said for the whole call, what you just said, planning for your future. Because either
Yeah.
way, like you said, there are certain people who fall in love with trading and they want to do it for the rest of their
Mm.
life. But most people, this is just a vehicle to success. It's a vehicle to freedom, a vehicle to wealth. And what you're going to do when you get there makes all the difference. We can all have a blast during our 20s and our early 30s, but life still goes on after
Mm.
that. And I don't think enough young people give this respect because they just haven't lived long enough to understand that time does keep going on. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, today the you have shared a lot with me that I didn't know about yourself, even though you have been my mentor. Um, just before, as you're looking to kind of log off when we end this call, what is the number one piece of advice that you would give to anyone coming into this industry who wants to make it as a trader?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is, quit the social media first. Like, unfollow the hype people and influencers that are giving the false informations and hyping things up, like, you can make this amount in this span of time, or whatever the case may be, because this is not going to be realistic, even true.
Yeah,
It may happen, but in a big percentage is not going to happen. Then gain the knowledge first, because knowledge is priority. You're going to even make something, right? Knowledge and experiences. This is the first thing you need, in order to make something in the trading. And then put focus on the mental aspect of trading, right? Psychology, because psychology, like, literally, like I said earlier in this call, is like, you can have knowledge, you can have experiences, but if your mental state is not all right, it's not going to be okay. You're not going to be successful. You just can't be. Simple, because I know for a fact what happened to me last year. Um, I didn't spoke this publicly yet. um, I had everything and I lost everything, right?
mm,
And being mentally down, depressed, cloudy mind, and everything, even though I had experiences and knowledge and everything, I just, I couldn't do it. I wasn't profitable. I wasn't successful in a matter of trading, right? And because of the mental state I was in.
yeah.
and psychology. So the psychology part of trading is very, very important. And people, especially new traders, are not giving enough of focus on that, which is the big problem, right? Because if you're not going to, it's going to take you years. So what I said to my students, I can give you the knowledge, I can give you everything I know. You have to gain experiences on your own. I can guide you through mental states and everything, psychology. I can tell you things, what I did at certain times, how I manage it. Now it's up to you if you're gonna use it.
Yeah.
Make sense? You have to use it, you have to take the advice, and that's it. Because look, if some very successful trader, and there's a lot of them, like let's say for example Jade Cap, he's like, I think he's the best trader on prop firms. Like he gained a lot of money, he gained a lot of capital. I do believe that he went a lot of through shit to get to the point, and I would happily ask him for advice to guide me, right?
Yeah.
How you did, what you did at those times, because he's successful, and I'm not having an ego to not ask him. Make
Yeah.
sense? So all of the traders, especially new ones that in sometimes gain some, let's say, profits on or everything, they think they're gods of trading, which it's not true. Leave the ego aside, leave the ego at the door, fuck the ego, ask questions, ask for advices. It's not going to cost you nothing. The only thing that people can say to you is no. This is the only thing. Just ask, do the job, work on yourself, work on your mental state, gain the knowledge and experiences, and do not give up, because eventually you're going to be successful. It's just a matter of time. Simple, right? It's just
Yeah.
this.
100%. And I think, yeah, the psychology it takes to trade Forex is something that runs deeper than trading itself. It's something that I always try and explain to my community. You don't, the idea of patience and confidence and things like this, they don't come from your experience trading necessarily. These are things that are outside your life. If you're not a confident person in your outside life, you won't be a confident person in your strategy and trading. If you're not patient outside of life, you're not going to be patient in trading. So I would personally urge, the same as you, everyone that comes into the industry to focus on trading psychology at least as much as they focus on technicals, and maybe even kind of look to, like, I don't believe that, I think everyone could do with mentors, like personal mentors, one-on-one mentors. If you can afford it, I think you should do it. But I do not think you should just do that on the technical side. If you can afford the cost of having a psychology mentor, you 100% should be doing that, because that is the hardest part to overcome. It will take you years, and it's a never-ending journey. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing all of this today. I do hope, for me, the biggest thing that I hope from this podcast, from conversations with people like yourself, is that new people in the industry just start to get an idea that this is not something to be taken lightly. This is a business. Like you've said it multiple times, it's a business. And if you don't treat it as such, you're never going to make it. But yeah, thank you very much, Seb, for sharing that.
Welcome.
For anyone who wants to learn more about Seb, I will make sure that I share his socials down in the description. He is also a technical mentor, and he is my personal mentor. Anyone who wants to kind of learn how he trades and how he's become successful, I will leave the details there for you to hit him up. And kind of whatever you've taken from this video, do make sure that you drop it in the comment section. What is the biggest lesson you have learned from this video today? And we'll see you all next time.